azgina tanishtirib boshida keyin ketaveramiz. Assalomu alaykum hammaga. Good afternoon everybody. Today we're going to have the second episode of our teaching and training sessions, and today our guest is Ilhamiddin Nabijonov again, and today we're going to discuss IELTS writing, and specifically we'll be focusing on IELTS advantage and disadvantages. So throughout this session we'll be talking about how to make this rocket science easier to students. At the same time we'll be talking about the structures that we actually apply while we are conducting lessons, and we'll be talking about how to make the lessons more effective and efficient, at the same time to make it student friendly. Welcome to our session in Ilhamiddin.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting. So my name is Ilhamiddin, and I'm an IELTS instructor here at Tashkent School. So today we're going to be talking about advantages and disadvantages essay.
Yeah, and let's a little bit talk about the process, and can you outline this one, how you actually conduct the classes and how you actually make this rocket science easier to students, and how you make it as student friendly as possible?
Okay, when it comes to writing advantages and disadvantages tasks, or when it comes to even other tasks, I usually have a leading part. You know, I cannot stress enough the importance of leading part, because this is where students are going to be driven through the world of the same you're talking about. When it comes to writing specifically advantages and disadvantages essay, I usually ask my students what are the advantages and disadvantages questions. For example, what are the drawbacks and benefits of studying online, or what are the advantages and disadvantages of studying from home, working from home, or studying overseas, and this kind of questions. And they're going to come up with lots of ideas, like advantages and disadvantages. And in the meantime, I'm going to show them how to introduce them in their talks. For example, I'd say one of the biggest advantages of studying from home is considered to be that, and they're going to put their own advantage at the end of their sentence. And one of the biggest drawbacks of this is considered to be, or thought to be, and students are going to be comfortable with that. And then after that, we're going to go to the structures.
Let's a little bit focus on the leading part. You said you cannot stress enough the importance of the leading. Why do you think leading is important from your own perspective?
You know, I've never seen a movie without its introduction. So, so this is the same when it comes to teaching. We need to have an introduction, and the introduction to your let's say lesson is this part. So I guess this is very important.
So if it is a little bit specific, then you gotta prepare students to the topic that you're gonna discuss, and therefore you're going to ask this question in order to have some ideas in the minds of the students, so that they can put this one while they're writing. So this is going to make the process much easier. It's like a first meal before the second.
The first second, yeah.
Gotcha.
So the next part is going to be structure part.
But before this one, you said you're going to give them the structure, and you're going to get them to talk to each other, or are you going to get them to talk to you?
I'm going to divide them in pairs, and they're going to talk to each other. And as a feedback, I'm going to ask students' opinions from their partner, not specifically from that person. This is going to, as I touched on before, this is going to make them more attentive when it comes to listening their partners.
Yeah, and how you are going to get students to use the structure that you have written down on the board? Are you going to specifically ask, use the structure and put the idea after that or before that?
First of all, before I demonstrate, as I said, we're going to ask questions, and after I'm going to write them down and split the introduction into different parts. You cannot, eat the dinosaur at once, so we're going to divide them into the different parts, so they're going to be much more comfortable when writing on those topics, specifically the introduction. So the first part is going to be...
No, we're not talking about the introduction. We're talking about leading part. You said you are going to ask them a question, they are going to brainstorm, and you are going to give a structure, like one of the biggest advantages
Yep,
of
yep, yep, yep.
online
I got you.
education is considered to be, then how you're going to get students to use the structure and apply their ideas into this.
They're going to talk to each other, and during some parts, I mean, during their talking, I'm going to ask questions like, what are this? And they're going to tell me, and it's like triple T method. I first ask and teach, and then ask.
You know, triple T for students or for those who are watching this video, this is teach, test, and teach again. So this is one of the methodologies that world is using nowadays in the sphere of teaching English. So this is TTT, and therefore, yeah, he's using this methodology. Yeah, that's really good. And let's move on to the next part. Once you've done with the lead-in, what you actually do.
Then I'm going to split the essay into different parts, like introduction, body, and conclusion. And after that, I'm going to split the introduction into different sentences. For example, the first sentence is going to be paraphrase part, where they're going to paraphrase the given statements in the question, and then after that, they're going to introduce their key arguments in the second sentence.
Here is the problem here, is because in most of the cases, students come up with the questions, how can we actually write something we have not started yet, because the key arguments are going to be presented in body paragraphs specifically, and they are going to be described there in more details, and then they feel themselves in the foggy weather, not understanding what to write in the key arguments. How you handle this situation?
Actually, you got me covered in this part, actually. For example, you said you're going to get your students, first of all, brainstorm the whole question, and then have the key arguments, and then go to the writing process. So after that, they're going to understand and know what they're specifically going to write in their first and second body. So beforehand, they know what they're going to write.
So it comes out that students are going to brainstorm all the things and plan everything that they are going to write beforehand, even before they start. Yeah, this is going to be a really good solution for students who are always are coming up with the questions like, how can we write the things that we haven't written down yet? So we are going to plan this one, and we are going to have some notes, and we are going to write them in the second sentence of the introduction. I gotcha.
And then the third sentence is going to be their plan. So you've got also an example for this one. I usually take a lot of things from you, and you usually ask your students before asking money from your father, before he even gives you that money, what are you going to say? You're going to say what you're going to do with that money.
Exactly.
So the same happens with writing. They're going to give their plan to the reader of their essay, what they're going to do in the rest of the paragraphs.
In order to set an expectation out of this essay.
So when we're done with the introduction part, we're moving to the body first. This is where I usually ask my students to write about advantages. And then they're going to have a topic sentence. So many students might feel a bit unconfident.
So now we are done with the introduction. So in the introduction, you'll be teaching 3 different sentences, and you're going to apply this strategy into all students. And now you've started the body.
The body one. They're going to start off their body one with the topic sentence. To those who don't know about topic sentence, I usually say, this is actually like the number you see in the top of the bus. So you're going to hop into that bus after you know that number is going to take to your destination. So it can be like this. There are many advantages of studying from home. So when the reader reads this one, they're going to expect that this paragraph is going to discuss about the only advantages. They're not going to go to disadvantages. So after that, they're going to introduce their first advantage, my students, and then they're going to support their first advantage by example or explanation.
Let's go back to the topic sentence. In order to make this one much more student friendly, you can, let's say, get your students to imagine a certain or specific situation. For example, imagine you are at the bus stop waiting for the bus, and now bus is approaching. What is the most important thing that you look at on the bus in order to get on it? So they'll be saying different things.
Like the interesting one is the number of people in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'll be looking at that, and if the bus is crowded with people, I'll not get on. If not, then I'll get on. Yeah, but this is one of the most interesting answers that they give. The second might be like I'll be looking at something else. But then one student comes or not, but whatever, you'll be given the answer. So the most important thing that you'll be looking at on the bus is going to be the number, because the number decides the direction of the bus, where it goes. Topic sentence is exactly the same. If you imagine the body paragraph as one bus, then topic sentence is going to be the number stick it on on what was the word? I cannot remember. That was
The topic.
windshield or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, windshield, right? Windshield. So this way you can make this one much more student friendly, because our job is to make the practice easier, not more complex. Once you make this, then students are going to enjoy because they understand. You enjoy when you understand.
Sure.
Yeah, and let's continue.
And then, as I said earlier, they are going to write their first advantage, after which they are going to as a support, write another explanation or example to their advantage. And then they're going to introduce their second advantage. After that, they're going to have explanation or example. I don't see any point in writing and having lots of advantages and ideas in one paragraph. I guess the most important thing is actually backing up your advantages with explanation and advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
In this time, you are making your ideas much more clear. I guess so. We need to have explanation or example to each and every advantage we give.
Yeah, exactly. Because students most of the time fail to explain what they have, as they end up saying the argument or point, and that's it. For example, one of the main advantages of studying online is it is cheaper, and that's it. They're going to move to the second. They're not going to give detailed explanation or specific examples of that certain point, and therefore they fail to, yeah. In terms of topic sentence, again, let's go back. Students might ask, what is the importance of having a topic sentence? It's exactly the same that we've done in the introduction, like we mentioned the arguments, and we are mentioning again this thing as a topic sentence. For example, there are a lot of advantages of online education. So why do we actually need this one? We need to give an answer to students so that they have a motivation to write this one. So how would you back up this?
I would say this is setting an expectation for the reader.
Yep. And if students says is like, this is only your opinion, but is there any proof that topic sentence will help us in order to score as high as possible?
Sure. In the band descriptor, if everyone checked, they're going to see.
I'm sure not everyone checked.
They're going to see that they're going to have their opinion, and they're going to have topic sentences to achieve 7 or above.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is important.
Yeah. So in the
From the
band
exam
descriptor for public version, right? Public version, there is a specific note that if you want to score higher than 7, you must have a topic sentence in paragraphs. Yeah, exactly. So this is going to be exact and formal proof of what you say. Yeah, exactly. Okay, in the second body paragraph, so the first one is going to be about advantages or disadvantages?
They decide, but mostly they're going to have advantages.
Preferably, right?
Preferably.
And second body paragraph?
Second body paragraph, the question might be, am I going to do the same with the second paragraph? actually know, I'm going to challenge my students a little bit. They're going to write their disadvantaged part on their own.
Cool.
Because the advantaged part is done, so they can have an example of a paragraph from the advantages side of the paragraph. The topic of the sentence is going to be a bit different by saying there are lots of disadvantages of this one. Instead of saying the first advantage, they're going to say first drawback, or another way of saying the drawback. So once they're done, we're going to discuss it with a group, or I'm going to divide them in pairs, and they're going to tell each other. And as a feedback, I'm going to ask again certain questions from selected students.
Yeah, there might be two things that you can copy from now. So the first thing, when you are given a feedback, it's very important to engage all the students, and therefore we can take the advantage of advanced technologies, because most people and most students nowadays are using Telegram app, and you might ask your students to type or take a photo of their second body paragraph and upload it to the group. Then everybody will be looking at this essay within a minute, and you'll be given a feedback, and everybody will be looking at the screens of their phones, and they will be given their own feedback. So we are going to engage all the students with the help of this one. So this is the first thing. While the second is going to be what I usually do. I'm going to write the first body paragraph on my own with the help of students. So I'm going to engage all the students, and I'll show them how actually it's done. Then in the second body paragraph, in order to make this process easier, I will have a written version of the second body paragraph as well, but it's going to be mixed. So I'll cut every single sentence in the pieces of paper, and I'll give them in disordered format. Then I'll pair them. Then students are going to put them in order, looking at the structure of the body 1 and body 2. So I'll give the structure, and they'll look at the sentences, then they place the sentences into the correct, let's say, version, or in the correct sequence. Then students will understand much deeper what's body 2 and how disadvantages are done. Then you're going to go to the conclusion. So this is another thing that you might probably take advantage from while teaching your classes. So the first one is using the advantage of Telegram, while the second maybe is giving them pieces of paper and ask students to put them in sequence.
Yeah, not only will I use the Telegram version in writing sessions, but I'm going to use them in other sessions, because this is going to decrease the load. For example, many students, if I ask them to exchange their papers, they're going to have like this one.
Yeah, mess up.
Mess up. You're going to have mess up in your session. I guess this is much better. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, this is kind of like class management. Yeah, and it works better. And it has also benefits for us. We have mutual benefits, because students are going to enjoy using their phones in the class, and we are going to enjoy not using a lot of paper, copying them in 10 or 15 copies. Yeah, it's like we are saving the trees.
Like win-win situation.
Yeah, win-win situation, exactly. And let's go to the conclusion.
Conclusion part is also split into basically two. The first sentence is going to be the restate of key topics, and then the second sentence is going to be their opinion. So many students might say, can I use or can I put a new idea into the conclusion?
Yeah. This is not mostly a question. This is mostly a mistake.
Yeah.
At the end, they become super clever, and they start like blowing this ideas. Then they want to put this one into the conclusion. And how you handle the situation?
In this case, also, I'm going to use the example of yours, like PE example, I would say. I would ask my students, imagine you're cooking a pillow, and you put everything, and the pillow is almost ready. And when you are taking it, Can you add peas to that?
What kind of peas? Is it like cooked
No.
peas or not cooked?
Not cooked peas.
Uh-huh.
And they're going to say, no, definitely. So the same happens when writing conclusion. You're actually summarizing all of what you have written, and to the summary you cannot add new things, or like not cooked things, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. So, in other words, do not add anything new, even if this is shocking. That shocks the world, right? So, in the conclusion, you are going to round up all the things that you've done or that you've written in the body 1 and body 2. Therefore, you are not allowed to have anything new. So, round up all the things, but in paraphrased version, because most of the students copy the sentences and then they say, "Oh, I've done conclusion in a while," and I would say, no, it's like, do not copy just, but instead you need to paraphrase certain things in order to show your language ability. Yeah, that's it. And now you're done with the input session. Students understood what IELTS advantage and disadvantage essay is. And what about the output? How you're going to get your students to, let's say, to write an essay? Because like we gotta be sure that students, after having been told IELTS advantage and disadvantage essay, will be able to write the same essay on their own for different topics. How would you handle this?
For the class session, I would give them a question, specifically from IELTS questions, and they're going to produce their own essay in that session.
So in the output session, you're going to give
them essay question.
Yeah, that's good. And you need to control them whether they are following the steps that you've told. So the first one is reading the question, understanding it, then brainstorming the ideas, then planning it. And after that, only they can start writing their body. No. The writing introduction, body second, and conclusion. Yep. This is going to be much easier than conventional method of teaching because the steps are linked and all the things are planned. Yep. Thank you very much. If you round up, so first of all, students need to have an idea about the topics that they are going to receive, and second is they are going to be given a structure and they're going to be demonstrated how actually it's done. Then they are going to be challenged with one of the IELTS advantage and disadvantage essay topics, and they are going to be controlled while they're let's say experiencing an output session. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Opa, en heb je gesproken?